Hi, in this video I will present you my research and my methodologies that I have developed in the past 10 years of experimenting with the goal of being able to keep the swimming pool clean with the least use of chemical substances. As everyone knows, this is not easy because each year is different. One year is hotter, another year is colder, and then you have more thunderstorms or less. So basically each year is an experiment because you start trying something, and if it works, fine. If it doesn't, then you will just have to next year to try something else. Also, for people who have swimming pools, they know very well that the reaction to anything you do is not immediate. It might take up to 2, 3 or 4 days to have a reaction, because this swimming pool specifically is 27 tons of water. So of course the reaction is not immediate. And I will also show other 2 swimming pools that I've been treating with these methodologies I have developed in the past 10 years, just to show that I'm starting to get consistent results. It's not just a case, it's not just fortunate that this year it works so well. I will be using some terminology and some scientific knowledge which is not common. I will be talking about life energy in the water. I will be talking about vitalizing the water. I will be talking about vortices and vortexers and stuff like that. So I will put in the link in the description a few links to documentaries about these topics, just to show that there's research on water which is not just speculation, which is not just some wishful thinking. It is actual research being done. It's just that you don't get to know about it because they just want you to consume a lot of chlorine, which is very good for their pockets, and furthermore it's very bad for your health. Anyway, I just ask whenever I speak about something, before asking me a question directly on the channel, to do a little bit of research, because as I said, that's 10 years of research I've been doing on this to get to the point. As I said, this is a 27 tons swimming pool. It's today the 29th of July. It's quite hot, actually. It's really hot. It's 32 or 33 degrees, and the swimming pool is not artificially heated. It's just heated by the sun. And just to show you that in this moment it's got around 29 degrees. That's about what I get. By this evening it's probably gonna be 29 and a half or something like that. So the water is really, really hot. And I haven't put any substance, any chemical in the water since 10 days. And as you can see, it's quite clear. It could be even a bit better, but the point is that I just run the little cleaning robot on the bottom, and that always throws up a little bit of powder, of dirt, and so it's going to take another day to get completely clear again. The swimming pool has got 3 inlets of water. You can actually see them. One is on the left side and the 2 are on the back side. And so what are my methodologies? The first thing to know, which is I noticed in all these years, is that the algae growth is very, very strong until the summer solstice, so the 21st, around the 21st of June. After that, it actually gets much easier to keep it, even if the water usually gets warmer, because you get into the important part of the summer. So what I'm using now as a chemical since over a month is just hydrogen peroxide, 35%. It's a industrial grade concentration. You can still find it in my country. In some countries you can, in other countries you cannot. In other countries you can ask a permission to the government to buy it. And anyway, it's quite cheap in my country. I pay about 80 euros for 20 liters. And what I have put in 10 days ago, which was the last time I treated the water in some chemical way, was 750 milliliters of hydrogen peroxide at 35% concentration. And as you can see, it's working very nicely. But that's not the only thing I do. I actually now am testing. Usually I would put 800 milliliters every week. Now I said, okay, let's find out if I can wait a little bit longer. Maybe I don't need to put that amount, or I can wait more days before I put again. And so that's why now it's 10 days I didn't put anything, and the water in the swimming pool is still very nice. I cannot see any algae growth in any corner or whatever. The first thing I did was to put in the sand filter of the pump, which is here. You can see in this big box here, there's about 80 kilos or 75 kilos of sand inside. And what I put inside was just about 10 silver spoons from my grandmother. And that is because silver is a very good antibacterial and anti a lot of stuff. It's been used since the Roman times, and I was reading a book of George Lakowski. You can find other videos about him on my channel, anyway, of the 1930s. And he said he wanted to develop a filter for water made of silver. Exactly for this reason, because silver is very powerful antimicrobial substance. And so I just decided that summer, about 12 years ago or something like that, to put those 10 spoons in the filter. And that already back then, I was still using chlorine and other chemicals. That already made a difference. I had to add a lot less chemicals just by having these spoons in the water, in the filter, sorry. And that's the first thing. Then we go to what are officially called vortexers. This is based on the research of Victor Schauberger. He was an Austrian researcher also back in, he died I think in 1958, but he did a lot of research. And what he found out was that water can be vitalized by making it run into a vortex. And that has to be a special kind of vortex. It's called an hyperbolic vortex. You see this device here? It's got a particular shape. It's not straight. And that's a hyperbola, which is a geometric shape. And so I bought that one about 8 years ago. It's quite expensive. It's made of copper. And in a short while I'll show how it works. Now it's detached for a reason I will explain shortly. But anyway, it just ran all the time and it worked quite fine. It already helped to reduce chemicals, but still I had to use chlorine every once in a while, and that's my objective, not to use chlorine at all. So over the years I've tried different stuff. I even tried frequencies, sound frequencies, ultrasound frequencies, but that didn't seem to help a lot. Maybe because I couldn't find the right frequencies, but it didn't seem to help a lot. And actually I used chlorine because this water has not been filled in springtime. It was recycled from last year, so you can imagine how it was after the whole winter. It was completely black, full of algae and leaves and everything on the bottom. So I took about 6 weeks to clean it, which means I ran the pump about 8 to 10 hours a day, and I would just put one or 200 gram pill of chlorine a week. And so just very slowly in the season when you still don't use your swimming pool, because maybe it's too cold, or anyway it's not really pleasant in April in my latitude to use a swimming pool, unless you do some Wim Hof cold baths, which I did as well in February a few times in the past. Anyway, I ran the pump for 6 weeks, one pill of chlorine a week just to clean it up. And when it was clean, like you see it today, I stopped using chlorine, and it was about over a month ago. I stopped using chlorine and just started using hydrogen peroxide, which, by the way, it's H2O2, so it's we call it in Italian oxygenated water, which means it's just water with some added oxygen, and it's kind of not very stable. It's very powerful antimicrobial, but it's not very stable. So that means that in 2 days it will be back to be water. So you don't get any smell, and after 2 days your swimming pool is again water. It cleans everything up, gets rid of all the algae or bacteria or whatever, and then it just becomes water. It's not like chlorine, which will cause smell, will go through the skin, will get into your blood system. it's much healthier. And anyway, I'm using, I repeat, about 800 milliliters a week on 27 tons. And of those 800 milliliters, sorry, it's just 35%, which is hydrogen peroxide. So we are talking about 250, 300 milliliters of hydrogen peroxide. So another thing I've developed, which is kind of an invention of mine, is this Vortexer, which is applied directly in the water, on the water inlet. And I can zoom it a little bit. And this basically does the same as the big Vortexer we just seen before, as that one. The only difference being that it's just smaller. And I have now, let's go into the life energy talk. So life energy can be measured on a scale which is called the Bovis. Please research it. It's BOVIS. And anyway, anything above 6,500 Bovis is healthy, is alive. Anything below starts to have a little bit of a problem. So basically, the big Vortexer, the Schauberger Vortexer, keeps my swimming pool at about 7,000 Bovis. Whereas my design, which is can still be improved, it's 3D printed and the special shape. As far as I measured it yesterday, it's around 7,500 Bovis. The point being that, in my experience, the higher the level of life energy in the swimming pool, in the water of the swimming pool, the longer it keeps itself clean and with least use of chemicals and additions of whatever kind. So the objective of these Vortexers is to keep the energy of the swimming pool high, and this allows me to use very little chemical additives like hydrogen peroxide. People who have a swimming pool, they know if you go into the chlorine thing, then you will have to do pH plus addition, pH minus addition, and then anti-algae solutions and a lot of chemicals. And why is that? My opinion is that chlorine just kills the energy of the water. It just takes it so low that then it's not a living thing anymore. Life is a living thing. Please watch the documentaries I link in the descriptions. Water is a living thing, and it's got a memory, and chlorine will bring that life energy very low, and then you need a lot of chemicals to keep it, and you won't be able to keep it anyway very nicely. I see now this season we had a lot of thunderstorms, a lot of rain, and people who have a swimming pool, they know when there's a lot of rain and thunderstorms, it gets actually harder to keep the swimming pool. It's a little bit colder, so it's somehow maybe you don't have to add so much stuff, but still every time you get a strong thunderstorm, it gets green the next day. Or that's my experience I had actually a lot of years ago when I was still using chlorine all the time. And anyway, when the life energy of the water of the swimming pool gets higher, and that happens because of the Vortexers, either one of them does it. Just my design is a little bit better, in my opinion. It's just more comfortable. I will turn on in a short while the big one just to show you how it works. It's just also noisy because you have sound of water falling all the time. And anyway, when the life energy of the swimming pool gets higher, and you don't use chlorine to kill that life energy, the swimming pool will just keep clean a lot easier. You need a lot less stuff, a lot less chemicals. Of course, then people are swimming. Of course, there's a private swimming pool. There's no children going in the water too much. There's my nephew coming sometimes. She's 7, but that's about it. I don't have 10 children every day in the swimming pool. That would make it probably a bit harder to keep it. But at the present state, with 4 or 5 people using it every day, I really need just a little bit of hydrogen peroxide, and that's just enough to keep it like this. Yeah, another thing I'd like to say, which I did good experience with regarding vortices, is, you see, in this swimming pool I cannot really do it because I have the 2 inlets there, and then the skimmer is over there. But in another swimming pool, which we'll see shortly, I have 3 inlets on one side, and the skimmer is in the middle of the other wall, on the opposite wall. So in this case, you could try to put all the inlets all in one direction, so that basically the water starts to generate a big, slow vortex in the swimming pool. So that's another addition you can do to make things more vital, to make the water more vital, and thus to diminish the use of chemicals. And in the third swimming pool I will show you in a short while, you will see that's a round swimming pool, a kid swimming pool, and there I'm only using the big vortex technology instead of, I don't have small vortexes inside. It's just that I point the inlet in a way that it just goes around the round swimming pool, and that helps as well. I mean, I'm using there as well the amount of hydrogen peroxide which I'm using at 35% is 30 milliliter for each ton of water. So that's a very small swimming pool, 4 tons. So I'm using about 120 milliliters of hydrogen peroxide a week. The swimming pool, it's very small, it gets very hot. We will check when I get there in a short while what the temperature is at the moment, but it's probably going to be around 32 degrees, so it's really hot. And still, it's just no chlorine, no anti-algae, nothing, and the swimming pool is pretty clear. Of course, it's in nature, so wind will bring some leaves inside and the bottom may be dirty. And yeah, that's about it. So there's one more thing I can add, which I had a good experience with, and now really some people will start swearing at me, but I don't give a shit. Just get out of my channel if you don't believe what I'm saying, if you think that this is not proof enough that what I'm saying is true. Anyway, what I did in a few extreme cases where I couldn't get the swimming pool clean, neither with my systems as well as with, I didn't have the Vortexers in all the swimming pool. That's an innovation I just developed this season. I didn't have that before. So in the other swimming pools, I cannot buy that. That's $800. I cannot buy one for each swimming pool. That's too expensive. So by not having that, I had problems. Hydrogen peroxide was not enough. I even used chlorine, but that's what was not enough. Every 3 days, the swimming pool would get green again. So what happened was I put for a week in a row, every day, 3 liters of water of Lourdes, which is holy water. You can multiply that water. That's why I have 3 liters, not just that I went to the place and brought gallons of it home. It's just that you can multiply it by having, if you have like a mother quantity, like 100 milliliters, you can make as much as you want out of it. So each day I would put 3 liters of water of Lourdes in a swimming pool, and after 2 months that I was struggling to keep it clean, that was when it started to get clean again. And again, why? I mean, if you analyze it on a chemical level, there's no explanation. It's just water. Chemically, even holy water is just water. Then what is it? It's just that those holy waters are really high energy. They have a high level of Bovis, and that will raise the level of the swimming pool. And at that moment, all the chemicals you put in, especially if you use hydrogen peroxide, which does not lower the energy of the swimming pool compared to chlorine, which does, but even with chlorine, if you higher the level of energy, of life energy in the water, then chlorine will work again. Otherwise, it's not just going to work. You can add as much as you want, and just going to get more toxic, and maybe it doesn't even get close to clean. Let's go to the other swimming pools now. So just to show that this is not just a case. I'm not trying to sell anything. So why should I make this 21-minute video at the moment, and it's going to get longer? Just to do what? To make a fraud? To do some, I don't know, whatever you think. If you don't agree or don't know anything about what I'm talking about, just don't watch my videos, but stop sending me stupid messages that I believe in whatever. This is science, there's proof of it, it's being used all over the world. There's companies making good business with water vitalizers, and it's not just a fraud, it's working. That's the point, look at it. Okay, see you in the next swimming pool. Sorry, I promised to show you how the Vortexer vitalizer works, and then I forgot, and now I have attached it and I can show you. So basically what I did is just I took with a with a pipe, I took the water from one of the inlets of the swimming pool and put it up in the Vortexer, and then the water is just being run in a spin and then falls back into the swimming pool. That's just about it. There's nothing, but in a specific shape, which is the hyperbola. Anyway, I try to get low on the water level so you can see the water coming down on below there. By the way, one more thing I can add. In all the swimming pools now I am treating in this way, the pump is not running 24/7. The pump is connected to a smart system to run only when there's sun on the solar panels I have installed. So it's, let's say, on a very sunny day, the pump is going to run for 14 hours. Then if it's a rainy day, it may run only for 4 or 6 or 8 hours, whatever in between. It's just based on how much sun there is on the solar panel. So I'm not spending 1 cent for electricity at the moment in neither of the 3 swimming pools I will show you. Okay, that was for the Schauberger water Vortexer. The swimming pool is not running at the moment. The pump is not running because at night it just turns off. So it's about 12 hours a day that it's running. And still this is the result. By the way, in this swimming pool I haven't added any hydrogen peroxide since 6 days. Tomorrow is the day I should add my 30 milliliters a ton of hydrogen peroxide, which is about, for 38 cubic meters of water, 38 tons, it's about 1.2 liters. The water is excellent. And it's got 29 degrees, I just checked it. Hi everyone, here we are at the second swimming pool that I've been treating with the methodologies I showed in the first part of this video. So this is a bigger pool, it's 38 tons, so about 11 tons larger than the first swimming pool. Since about a month I've just used as a chemical hydrogen peroxide. Before I needed to clean it from the winter, so I use chlorine just because it's more easily available and costs less. And here too I have installed, as you can see, one of my Vortexers. Actually, in the first 3 months when I was cleaning, 2 months when I was cleaning it, I had 2 of them, plus a third one which was an airborne one. But then the problem is that they tend to make the pressure a little bit lower, so now that it's clean I just leave it like that. It could be more transparent, but again, here today I just did the robot because of those palm trees leading down a lot of seeds, and so the whole bottom was full of those seeds, and so I cleaned it. I have in this specific swimming pool another thing, which is this device over there. This is a solar, it's sort of making electrolysis with copper. There's a copper rod inside and an iron, not iron, steel spin around it, and this should help for algae. But actually I don't have it in the other 2 swimming pools, so I'm not sure it's really helpful, but you can try it if you want. It's not really expensive. For 150 euros or something like that you can have it. And here I was able, you see all my inlets, they point in this direction, and so I actually have a big huge vortex going on, very slow one, but now my temperature meter, which is my thermometer, which is over there, it's slowly going to go back, and then it goes into the vortex again and goes this way and keeps on turning the whole day. Actually, let's go a little bit closer, maybe we can see some debris on the surface going the other way around. So just to show you that in this swimming pool, since I have the skimmer over there, I was able to do this. Actually, you can see there's one of those seeds, and you see it slowly moving actually against the main direction of the current made by the inlets. And so I have this big vortex here. Slow, but I believe it helps. Now some seeds have remained on the bottom, and also I had, when it was still not transparent, a key fell into the swimming pool and I couldn't see it, so it just stayed on the bottom, was moved by the robot, and now it's all dirty. I hope over time it will go away, but I'm not sure it's gonna happen. And anyway, one recommendation, if you find the 35% hydrogen peroxide, is use gloves and protective goggles, because it's not very good for the skin. I mean, it's very strong and it will bleach your skin. I actually had a few times a drop going on my skin. It didn't hurt anything, just became completely white, and then after a few hours I could clean it away and it was no problem. But actually ice is probably going to be a lot worse. So use protections if you find it and you try to experiment with it. And one last consideration is that I was saying in the first part of this video that once the swimming pool has a high energy, this one now is, I measured it last night, it was 7,600 bovis, then it becomes like a healthy person. I could make this parallel. If somebody is using antibiotics every day, after a while, that's a known fact, they won't work anymore. Whereas if somebody just uses it sometimes when it's really needed, then he will react a lot better. And that's the same with a living swimming pool. When there's a high energy in the swimming pool, and then one day, because for some reason you forgot to put your liquids and you need some chlorine or hydrogen peroxide or anti-algae, it will react very well. Instead, if it's on a constant treatment of chlorine, after a while you just have to add more as the temperature goes up. Now I wanted to see the temperature here, but let me get that thing closer because it's too far. I cannot get to it. I have here a tool. Get it closer so we can check the temperature. It might be a little bit lower than yesterday. It was 29, but this morning I had to fill in the swimming pool a little bit because of the heat. The level was a little bit low, so that's colder water coming in. So now the temperature is, I would say 28 and a half. 28 and a half. So just to show you that, again, my protocol, my methodologies to keep the swimming pool clean is working on a bigger pool, again, since over a month. And I'll show you a third one. Okay, since I took out the thermometer, now it's on this side of the swimming pool, and you can see it's moving to the left, which is the opposite direction at which my inlets are pointing. So by pointing them a little bit to their left, as you can see there, they generate this large vortex. And one more thing I want to add, that in this swimming pool too, this year I had some pieces of silver, not actually very many, it was maybe 5 or 6, and I put them in the sand filter of the pump, and I believe that helped as well. And I can tell you, last year I didn't have the Vortexer, I didn't have the silver, I still used chlorine, and actually chlorine was the emergency. I used mostly, I tried to use hydrogen peroxide, but 3 days and it was green, started to get green. And this was the time I experimented with really strongly with the fact of using the water of Lourdes, so holy water. And I remember when I started, it was around this season, maybe in a week or two, beginning of August or mid-August, I added about 3 liters of holy water each day for a week, and after a week it started to get better. And back then I had measured the swimming pool before adding the water of Lourdes, and on the Bovis scale the value was around 5,500, 6,000. So that's not enough. Then in 3 days it gets green. And by the way, it never got for so many days to these temperatures. It was around 27, 28, but 29 it was reached last year, just maybe 2 days in the whole season. Instead, now it's a week, we have very hot weather, and so temperature is actually higher, but the swimming pool is much, much more clean. And as you could see in the video from last night, when I filmed it at night, even with the light on, which is always a test because you will see all the debris if the water is not clean. It looked pretty well. It could be even better, but I'm gonna get to that maybe by adding another of my vortexers or something. Anyway, let's go to the third swimming pool. Okay, and here we get to the third swimming pool, which is a very small swimming pool. It's a kid's swimming pool, about 4 tons of water. And I've been here last week, so I haven't seen it before. I haven't thus added any hydrogen peroxide. And today is the day due. It's a week. It's been here like this. As you can see, the water is not really perfect. There's also quite some dirt in the bottom. There are some slight traces of algae there. You can see, but really little. And if you consider that it's really 1 week it's here like this, it's sunny since a week. I can show you the temperature, which is at the time being 33 degrees almost, so it's very hot. And there is no, as I said, real vortexer here, but I have put here in the water inlet, see here, the water is coming this way, so it's going along the perimeter, it turns all around, and then there's a skimmer there. And so there's no real vortexer, it's just working with a vortexer created by the pump itself. And I believe that to have 33 degrees and being the sun all day, and by the way the pump is programmed to run just 8 hours a day, I think it's excellent. And I've put last week some hydrogen peroxide and it was just 120 milliliters. So with this video I close this little video, this long video actually, about my swimming pools and these methodologies. I might do another video in a month or so if I have any news, but I'd be really glad if people start experimenting with these methodologies, because as I said, chlorine is really toxic. It's really nothing good, and it's even for nature it's not good. It's not good for the body. And then if you go into that loop where you have to add all those products each week, it's even quite expensive. Whereas with some physical things like the vortexers or the principle of creating a vortex in the swimming pool, plus some silver in the sand filter of the pump, plus some hydrogen peroxide, or you can probably try it, I will try maybe next year, with those oxygen pills which are being sold today that basically are a sort of hydrogen peroxide, but usually they're never enough. Instead, with a vortexer they might be enough. I will test that next year. Now this year I will finish up with my hydrogen peroxide since I bought a sufficient quantity, and consider that at this point the costs I'm having for a whole season for these 3 swimming pools is just 80 euro, about 80 euros. And okay, let's say 100 because I have to put in the beginning of the season some chlorine to clean the swimming pool from the winter dirt that has accumulated over the 4 or 5 months of winter. So I believe that for 3 swimming pools, okay, this one is small, let's say 2 swimming pools, that's definitely not a lot. It's a lot cheaper than if you go on chlorine for the whole season and then use pH plus, pH minus, anti-algae and whatever else you need to use to make the swimming pool run the proper way. Okay, thanks for listening. Goodbye. Hi, it's 2 days after the first test I showed you about this swimming pool, which is the largest of the 3 that I'm managing, and I thought I could do a test, which I haven't done since quite some time, since when the swimming pool is clean I don't necessarily need to do any chemical test. But since I have this little kit to test the pH of the swimming pool, I decided to try to do it now and see what turns out. Anyway, as I said, I don't really need to do it as long as when the swimming pool is nicely clean. I don't really care about doing the test. Anyway, so we have taken a sample of water And now I put in 5 drops of this stuff. Okay, now I just mix it up a little bit, and so we can see that we have a pH, well, it's difficult, I would say something around 7. It's a little bit darker than 6.8, but it doesn't really look to be like 7.2. I should have a white background. Let's see in the sky how it looks like. Yeah, I would say, well, actually could be, it's difficult to say. It depends on where you watch the color. But maybe, yeah. Like this, it looks like almost 7.6, 7.8. But then if I do it in the swimming pool, it looks like 7 point, yeah, 7. Well, it looks okay. Okay, I mean, it's not, certainly not too acid, because it's darker than 6.8, and certainly not too alkaline, which would be that purple on the top, 8.2. So anyway, I haven't added any product to keep pH stable. As I said, the only thing I've added in the last month is hydrogen peroxide, and the swimming pool regulates itself. By the way, we just had some rain, not really much, so it's nothing to be worried that could really change the pH of the water, but we just had some rain. Okay, thanks for listening.